Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today. It is nearing the end of February, not quite there yet, but February 24th is Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and we're taking your questions live about U.S. immigration, as we always do, and taking them and providing educational kind of content about your case to give you an idea of what's going on or about U.S. immigration in general. But we can't provide case-specific information because things are so different and so many pieces of information that we need to make sure things are done right. But we come every week here for the last 3 or 4 years and take your questions, and we love doing that. If you haven't already, and you're interested in a marriage green card case, a fiance visa case, download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com, and that'll help you a lot to first start and figure out what's going on in these marriage and fiance visa cases, and then we can take it from there to see if it's schedule a consultation, learn about your case. A lot of good information there. Again, we're going to take your questions live. They're slowly coming in, and we'll start taking your questions from TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I'm sure our YouTube, the main page, our YouTube page, JQK Law or Immigration Talk, as the name is now. But with that, let's get the show started. Now, there's a housekeeping thing I forget, but we give away free video consultations for those watching the live show. All you gotta do is like and subscribe and ask a question or write consultations in a bit, or just write consultation, and we're happy to randomly choose people every 10 minutes. You got 3 free video consultation giveaways, so that'll be a cool thing if you want to get the consultation in private to talk about that. That's all you got to do. But Mo says, "Good evening, John. God bless you. God bless you as well, Mo. Thank you for tuning in." Sarah says, "Got any updates about TPS?" So TPS is a program that's short for Temporary Protected Status. Now, their updates is hard to say particularly because there's a lot of updates that happen every day. When there's an event overseas in the country, it might be a humanitarian disaster or something like that, or some other issues, they declare a thing in the United States called Temporary Protected Status and say that people from that country who are in the United States can temporarily stay here and get a work permit while the situation gets cleared up in their home country. Now, because there's a lot of different countries, a lot of different issues, the list of countries that have access to TPS is 10 or 15 countries long. So when you say there's updates, well, it depends on what country TPS you're talking about. For example, there was a big court case in the Ninth Circuit. These are the main court that handles appeals on the west coast of the United States, where they're trying to invalidate and end the program for TPS for several countries, including El Salvador, who's had TPS for 20 plus years after there was a major earthquake in that country. And so they weren't successful. The Biden administration wasn't, so that program is still staying. But those got a relief, so that's there. Now, there was an update for TPS if you want to travel while you have TPS. For example, you have TPS in the United States. If you left, they wouldn't let you back in. So you have to ask for special permission called to be able to return into the United States. And so what happened is that they said, we're not going to allow people to use advanced parole for TPS anymore, but they created a separate program for travel permission on TPS. So that's there. And the other update with all this is that you got to keep an eye out. Venezuela has a great TPS program right now. It's being used. They come and they go. So for TPS, you got to keep an eye out when registration opens. They had one for Ukraine that opened up when the war started. It's a really important program. For Haiti, there's one that keeps getting renewed, but it really depends on what country you're from and if they're renewing it or not. We get emails from USCIS Immigration Department every day saying they're renewing Syrian TPS, Yemenis TPS. It really depends on what country you're from and how you fit within the TPS structure. But it's a very important program to be aware of because it just might affect you or your family members, so it's good to know. But thank you for your question, Sarah. The next question, Mo follows up. Does foreign travel to Europe increase the chance of getting advanced parole during administrative processing during interview in U.S. Embassy? So that's a good question. Let's back up to what administrative processing is. So many times when people go and do their embassy interview, when an interview is done, they don't just give the visa and approve it. They'll say, listen, we're going to put your case into administrative processing and let it wait and do some research, this and that, before we make a decision. And sometimes this administrative processing can linger on for months and months, maybe years and years until it's approved. So it's a very frustrating process and stuff. It happens a lot to people from Iran in particular. But we just had a case where it was an investor from Italy who had this happen to them. So it's not just for Iranians. Now, there's a question like, what if you've gotten visas? For example, you're Iranian, you've gotten visas for Europe, and they go back and forth. Does that help getting the visa in the U.S. and avoiding administrative processing? So, my belief is no, it doesn't matter. Every time you apply for a visa, it's a new thing because I've had clients who have European visas and still get hit with administrative processing. So I don't necessarily say that. However, I talk to former consular officers regularly. I have a lot of friends who used to be embassy officers, and at least one of them has told me that for them it's important. If they flip through your passport and see you've had other kinds of cases, it's more likely they'll approve the case. Now, there's a difference between approving a case or being willing to approve it and administrative processing. So an officer may be more willing to approve your case if you've traveled to Europe and had visas for Europe. But administrative processing could be something that happens where the computer just tells the officer, or just some sort of system automatically says we need to do extra, review of this case. They don't really share with us the internal ways of handling these things and who gets hit with administrative processing. But even if the officer wants to approve it because they've seen you had European travel, there could be a computer system, there could be a supervisor, there could be a lot of different factors that stop them from doing that. So generally, I always err on the side of being conservative on this. So I have a lot of people who contact me and want tourist visas, student visas, and say, listen, I've gone to Europe many times. They always approve my Schengen visa to visit Europe, so I should be okay with the US. And I say, not so fast. That is not necessarily the case. I would not rely on that and make plans. For sure, that's your case. It's going to be approved because you've got the Schengen visa. So it could help, but it's not the biggest thing. And so I've had people who don't have European visas get approved, and people who have European visas still get denied for U.S. temporary visas like tourist visas or student visas. So administrative processing with travel to Europe, having history of travel to Europe doesn't necessarily help the other route or that kind of thing. But why? It's good to have. Why not throw it out there if you have it? Our next question, Mahesh says, one of my cousins is on an H4 I-94, got expired. Okay, so there's an H4. This is a spouse of an H1B, a spouse of a person who has a work visa in the United States. Now, I-94 is a permission for them to stay in the United States in that status and has a length, but apparently it's expired. The employer forgot to track that it was expiring, and now it's expired. And we were new to USA. She left to India. She got refused and eligible to apply for a waiver on the grounds of inadmissibility. So, Mahesh, you contacted me about this before. This is like a highly complex case. I can't talk about case-specific stuff here. If what they should have done was not to leave, what should have done was called a NUNC or MPT request to fix it up. But then she left. That really messes the waters up. So, unfortunately, there wasn't an attorney handling this case probably, or someone who was very familiar with the situation. But if she stayed for more than 6 months, she's subject to a 3 or 10-year bar potentially. And you could apply for waiver, but waivers are taking forever to get. So it's a major issue, but this is something where you got to talk with the lawyer. That family needs to consult with an attorney private. There's too much going on for this general information that we have here. Most might ask if I finished to stay 3 years continuously as a spouse of an immigrant, but in the past year I've been out for more than 1 year outside the U.S. on race permit, can I get approved for my citizenship? So the question isn't really well designed, but essentially, if you're a green card holder and you've been outside the U.S. for more than 1 year, is that a problem for getting citizenship? Yes, they're going to deny your case if you're outside the U.S. for more than 1 year in the last 5 years, if you're doing a regular case, or if you've been married to a U.S. citizen and living with the United States citizen in the last 3 years. If you're out for more than 1 year, that's going to lead to denial of your case automatically. You can't have 1 year absences unless you beforehand apply for permissions like an M470, I believe it is, something like that. I can't remember the form number right now off the top of my head. But a reinsurance from I-131 protects you from losing the green card, and it's not full protection, it's not guaranteed protection, but it doesn't save you from being able to get citizenship or the issue of breaking continuous residence for citizenship purposes. So continuous residence concept has two different parts. It can go to keeping your green card, which the reinsurer helps to keep the green card, but it does not help for U.S. citizenship. It does break continuous residence that you've been outside. So you got to do the wait around and wait and rewait the time to be okay. Now I was asked, hi, my wife's interview went well last week and her visa was approved. Do we need to make any payment for a green card? And will we be able to change the green card delivery address? So there's two parts to that question. Congrats on getting the visa approval. I'm assuming it's an immigrant visa if you're mentioning green card. You need to make the payment. Right now it's $220 before they enter. Now you can do it afterwards, but it's much, much, much better. They recommend it strongly to pay the visa fee. It's an online fee. You pay by credit card online. It's $220. Pay that as before they come. So that's the first thing. Changing the address becomes a headache. Should have been not the embassy. If it's not done, you need to tell the officer at the airport when you enter. They're going to give you a packet probably, or they may or may not give you a packet. When you're entering the airport, the foreign national is your spouse. They need to tell the officer we've changed the address where we want this to be mailed to, and they'll update it. However, at this point, it may or may not go properly in the system for it to be properly delivered to the right place. So you need to keep an eye out, get the case number, keep the case number after you pay the fee so you can check it. And if they show that it was delivered, do that. Sometimes it can't be delivered because the address is wrong or something like that. Keep an eye out on it. Call you if you need to. And the short of it is, it's messy now because you didn't have you didn't have a consistent address. It'll probably be okay, but it's messy where it's going to get delivered. Hopefully, the previous address is still not that bad of an address. So you can still get stuff there, but it could potentially be a problem. So keep an eye out on that. But when you enter the U.S., at this point, that's where you need to mention that you want the address to be changed. Really quick, I do want to name. Let me see right now what's going on. A winner of our lottery, Mahesh. Thanks for posting. You posted last week. We can have a free video consultation, 15 minutes, but again, it's better I speak with the family themselves, not with you as a third party, because to get the details we need to talk with a couple. But if you're interested in having the free video consultation, better have them email me or you email CC them. What you have to do is take a screenshot of where you're watching this so I can see your username is you, and it's not someone else posing as you. And then I'll reply with information on how to schedule the free video consultation. For those just tuning in wondering what I'm talking about, for those watching the live show, we give away free video consultations, 15 minutes. All you got to do is like and subscribe and ask a good question, write consultation at the end of it, or just write consultation. And every 10 minutes, you got 2 more. So in 10 minutes and 20 minutes, we'll announce winners to get free video consultation. So that'll be fun. We can talk in private because there's only so much we can talk about here. A reminder, if you're interested in a fiance visa, a marriage visa, all that kind of stuff, download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide to learn what's going on with your case. All you got to do is go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com and download this guide that can really help you better understand the process before you talk with a lawyer. Our next question comes from Sharp. That's, can I visit the United States as a Canadian if I've been to Cuba? Good question. I don't think there are restrictions that come to the United States if you visited Cuba. I haven't had this scenario pop up, so I don't know for sure. If you have visited, Canadians, let's back it a little bit. Canadians are what's called visa exempt. If they want to visit the U.S. on a tourist visa, unless there's some issues with their past or they've been kicked out before, they don't need to request a visa to enter the United States. So a lot of the bans that exist don't apply for them. For example, if you're European, you don't necessarily, most Europe, you don't necessarily need a visa to come visit the United States. You apply for a program called the Visa Waiver Program, ESTA program. And what you have to do, you go online, you pay a fee, and then you just come visit the United States up to 90 days. Now, for that European program, and Japanese, Australians, and a lot of different countries that are part of the Visa Waiver Program, if they visited Iran, for example, in the last few years, they would lose the ability to use the Visa Waiver, and they have to get a full-on tourist visa to come visit the United States. However, Canadians are what's called, again, visa exempt. They don't even need to apply for visas. So a lot of the rules that create bans are applied differently for Canadians. I just haven't had the specific fact pattern to research it fully. I doubt you'll have issues. You should be able to come in. But having said that, I can't give individual legal guidance, especially because I've dealt with this fact through the full research myself. My initial impression is that's okay, but I would need to do more research to give you a final answer, so I can't give you exact information on that one. Pineapple asks, can a B2 tourist visa travel to Canada from Jamaica without a Canadian visa? That's up to Canadian law. Probably not, but that's Canadian immigration law question, whether they'll allow someone to come in. And so I only handle U.S. immigration. This is channel U.S. immigration talk, so I wouldn't be able to answer that question for you. Simonis asks, my I-751 removal of conditions case was returned for incorrect fees. I sent 2 money orders, one for $598 and the other for $85. I had to resend the documents with the money order for $600. I'm wondering, will that be an issue? No, if you refiled, that's fine. Hopefully the filing window is not broken up or not too late for it. But you'll get a receipt and you'll be okay. Just make sure you sign the right parts and all that kind of stuff. I don't know the details of your case, what you submitted, what was missing, what errors exist. So I can't tell you if you have issues or not, because I don't know much more than these 2 sentences in this question. But probably okay. But hopefully. But that's as much I can say based on this limited amount of information. One of our regulars, Jordan A350 asks, what's up, John? I'm good. Good to hear from you. How important is signing up for the Selective service? If someone did not apply, can it prevent them from being a U.S. citizen given that they meet all the other citizenship requirements. So this is a very important requirement. The selective service is the U.S. military draft for you to sign up for the military. Although U.S. doesn't actively recruit people, forcefully like a lot of countries do to join the military, they have it open in case they need to. So any person that's a U.S. citizen, green card holder, or is unlawfully without permission in the United States has to file for it, a male that is, between the ages of 18 to 26. And if they don't, they won't be able to get certain benefits like certain money for college and stuff like that, loans or something. I can't remember the details of that one. But importantly, if they're a green card holder, for example, they can't apply for citizenship for a certain period of time. So one note is, if you did adjustment of status, many times USCIS will automatically register you. So you may not register on your own, but you are. You need to go to their website for the Selective Service to see if you're there. Or if it doesn't pop up, you need to contact them, and they may be able to tell you separately because the website hasn't updated to reflect it. So that's an important thing to check on. But let's say you didn't submit Selective Service. If you're married to a U.S. citizen and applying for citizenship based on the 3-year rule, you wait till you're like 29, and then you can apply, and it's no problem. If you're doing it based on the 5-year rule, you wait 5 years after the age of 26, and it might be 25. I might be mixing up the numbers, but you wait that long and you do it. It should be okay. If you want to do it sooner, it's going to go up to the discretion of the officer, and you have to explain why you didn't do it, why there was a mistake. They may or may not approve it. Typically, we just say wait the full 3 or 5 years and just do it. But that could be an issue. So it depends on your age, what the reason was, and what kind of citizenship case you do, 3 or 5 year, to see if the selective service is a problem. But again, if you did adjustment status, you might well have to register without even knowing. So keep an eye on that. That may just solve everything. Sammy asks, hi, Mr. John Kostravi, extension letter for I-751. Does it start from the green card expiration date or from the filing date? It starts from the green card expiration date. So whenever green card expires, the extension takes it from there. Then will all I-751 applicants 48-month get 48-month extension letters? Any update? So yeah, all new ones will get 48 months. The last time they extended it from 1 year to 2 year, they did go and resend new extension letters, but it took them like a year to do it. So most likely people have it pending, didn't get a 48-month automatic extension for the I-751 removal conditions application. Most likely they'll all get 4-year extensions. But I didn't fully read what the update was, but probably if they do, it'll take them forever to send it. So if you have an old one and you need proof of extension for work or for travel, it's better to get an ADIT added stamp, a green card stamp, your passport to hold you over, because it's not clear when and if they'll send you actual extension notice with the extra time. Shiraz asks, can we expedite our I-130 petition at national visa review stage, or can we only expedite once we are documents are qualified? So the I-130 petition is done. At this point, it's an immigrant visa. You could expedite embassy review of the case, or you could also expedite the embassy to schedule an interview sooner. It's all possible. It really depends on the embassy and what facts you have, what needs you have to expedite it, how urgent it is, and then it's up to them whether they'll approve it. So it's essentially in immigration, you can always make a request for expediting. They have the ability to expedite if they want to. It just depends on what facts you have and who it is that's going to be reviewing the facts and whether they're going to want to help you out or not. Carlos asks, can I travel outside the United States while extending E2 status pending? Can you travel outside the United States when it's pending? You're going to need a visa to come back in. So I wouldn't recommend doing that because you might get stuck outside if you don't have an approved visa for the E2. So that's something to be very mindful of. There are, things called automatic validation. It's long and short of it is there's an automatic revalidation thing if you have a short trip, if you're, Mexico or Canada. But there's much more details I would need to know about your case. But generally, if you leave and you don't have an E2 visa that's valid, they may not let you back in. So it's not something I recommend. I'll need to review your case, your stamps, and visa stamps, all that to give you individual guidance. Daisy asks, our visa interview is soon. A little nervous. Income was 41,000-ish for a family of 5. Just made the cut. Hopefully, it's not a problem. Typically, it's not unless you get an officer who wants to be difficult. But they really just are pretty good at that. If you meet the requirement at the time, then that's fine. I've rarely seen it be a problem. Saraj asks, what are the ways to apply for a green card through TPS status? So there's zero ways to apply for a green card through TPS status. Whatever ways there are for everybody who could file for a green card is the same for TPS status. So, you just got to look at it in that kind of way. Now, I was asked, really appreciate your help. Always very helpful. Thank you. You're welcome. Now, thank you for the kind words. If you have the time, please go to Google, type in JQK Law. and it'll have a page about us on the side for Google My Business. And leave a 5-star review. You don't have to write anything. Like, just write 5-star, and that's it. Helps the business a lot. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Mo asks, can Expedite be requested while USI is reviewing a case, or when is it the embassy, or both possible? Yeah, you could always expedite. As I said earlier, you can always request an expedite for a case. Whether approve it or not, that's another thing, but you could always make a request. And ask, hi, can you say when there'll be movement in the family bulletin? No, I can't predict the future, so we just got to check every month. Unfortunately, the family-based visa bulletin for many of the categories hasn't moved at all in like over a year. It's very distressing, but this is something the government every month announces, so we don't have any power of that or knowledge of it. Mississippi asks, thank you for all the good work and helping immigrants. Thank you, Mr. Again, 5-star review on Google, appreciate it, but God bless you. Thank you for the kind words. Shane Jolly has, I had my interview for citizenship on November 5th, but no oath ceremony yet. Till this day, hell, please. So how did the citizenship interview go? Did you get an approval notice, or did they say they want to think about your case more? On the other hand, sometimes these things take a while to get the oath ceremony. It could just be a normal situation. Paranoid Andrew, another regular, asks, are EB-1 applicants adjusting status exempt from public charge rule if they never receive funds from the government? So the public charge rule applies anyways to many cases. So let's back it up. So the Biden administration updated what's called the public charge rule. And what they did is they updated Form I-485 application for adjusted status. And they added like 5 or 7 more questions to the case. And a lot of cases that really shouldn't have the public charge rule applied to them in that context are getting it applied. I haven't looked at EB-1 case. We have one we're going to file actually next week, but I haven't looked at context. It's pretty all-consuming, so probably it will apply, but it's pretty easy-going kind of questionnaire about how much income you have and stuff like that. So you probably have to still fill out the question. The USA's policy manual has a special appendix section that says it applies. I just haven't looked at in the EB-1 context yet. It applies for all family categories. Most likely it will apply for everyone as well. But it's really straightforward. It's not going to be too hardcore. Now, Wells follows up, how long would it take for a green card to deliver once my wife enters U.S.? Thank you. So I see the green card delivered if you do an embassy interview and you're approved for a green card. After you enter the United States, I've seen it, the green card delivered in 3 weeks, and I've seen it take 11 months. So anywhere between then, unfortunately, it's a very wide variance, and 10% of the time, it just gets lost and applied. So it's all bad, but sometimes it gets faster, but 3 weeks to 9 months, or 10 months, 11 months, something like that. So essentially, the answer is worthless. You just kind of, pray and that comes. Russell asks, if I have any kind of inadmissibility for a marriage-based green card, should I file I-130 to be hopeful for the next steps, or should I not file at all? Well, it's not about having hope or not. You got to just find the facts and see if you are inadmissible or not. So you got to review your case, and if you are, we got to see if a waiver applies, and you got to know how the waiver works and what the situation is, and how long it takes, and then you make a decision. There's no point in just this kind of thinking doesn't make sense here. You got to just learn the facts, talk with a professional, and make a decision from there. Mohammed asks, is it true that there will be an immigrant visa waiver implemented by DOS for April 2023? They are implementing certain visa waiver stuff, but I don't think for immigrant visas. Immigrant visas are pretty hardcore. I doubt they'll waive that. They're waiving certain cases for non-immigrant visas, but I doubt they would waive it for immigrant visas. But if there was, you'd hear a big announcement about it. Okay, so next question is Mr. Tux asks, can one still apply for citizenship even after receiving 40-month receipt removal conditions? Yeah, this is a question. I mean, you find a lot of online resources that are correct about this. If you have a form I-751 removal conditions pending and you satisfy the basic requirements for citizenship, you can file for citizenship and get it done. So we have this issue a lot where people have an I-751 pending and they're waiting for it to be approved before they apply for citizenship. We don't, 9 out of 10 times we file for citizenship when the removal of condition case is pending, because it speeds it up. Many times they'll schedule a citizenship interview and they'll adjudicate the I-751 removal of conditions along with the citizenship application at the same time. So it really speeds things up if you could do that. It's case specific. We don't know if we could apply for it or not, but it's something I'd seriously look into in these kind of cases. Very important. So next question from Barry is about final order of removal if they're eligible to adjust status to a U.S. citizen wife. I don't handle cases that have had removal proceedings, so I don't like to talk about this kind of stuff. It may or may not be possible if you reopen the case, for example, but I'm not a removal defense attorney, so it's not in my special expertise to deal with those kind of cases. So I'd say contact an attorney that deals with removal a lot that could better guide you on that kind of case. So, removal is the name that they use now. They changed, I'll about be politically correct. So every 10, 20 years, they change stuff. They used to be called deportation. And a lot of people still use that language when someone's going to be, kicked out of the United States. But now they call it removal, but, people use it interchangeably because they're so used to calling it deportation, along with what they call the immigration department. I get emails every day saying INS did this, INS did that. INS hasn't existed for 23 years now. After 9/11, they reshuffled and rejiggered everything. So now it's called USCIS. Actually, let's back it up. INS included multiple different kinds of agencies within it. But after 9/11 and the Homeland Security Act, they changed it, whereas USCIS handles immigration matters. CBP is at the port of entry. They're under the Department of Homeland Security. They separated certain investigation functions. But others they didn't. Their ICE is a separate agency within DHS, so they really moved and changed things up. The immigration courts under ICE as a prosecutor, so it's a mess. So, but just the short of it is, all these terms mean different things for those just tuning in and saying, what is removal? What is INS? What is USCIS? So just different names for the same thing that happens. So that's the thing about U.S. immigration law. Heavily politicized, and every couple of years it changes. So that's why it's really important to talk with somebody that's up to date on it and see what is the rule today. Because every day we get emails from USCIS, Immigration Department. There's court cases that come down. There's decisions made by the administration. For example, the Biden administration just a couple of hours ago announced an adjustment to the border asylum situation. Our office doesn't handle cases where people are coming in from southern border trying to get asylum, stuff like that. But they announced that they're maybe putting in this new rule or implementing this rule that kind of was there already, where, if you are from some country, you land in Mexico and then you want to come to the U.S. border to file for asylum, you have to file for asylum within Mexico because that's where you first landed. You can't come to the border trying to get to the U.S. at that point. They're hoping that'll prevent people from coming to the U.S. because they won't be able to apply for asylum here. There's going to be probably lawsuits on that. It's going to take forever for a decision to happen on that. But these are the complexities of the politicization of the immigration process, which is always going to be an issue that exists for immigration. So you just kind of have to deal with it. This is the kind of stuff that we see. Now we got a couple of questions on TikTok that just popped up. So let's go with that. So Jockey asks, how long does it take to get a green card on U visa? 23 months. So the U visa is an interesting category. So if you've been a victim of serious crime, typically you can get a work permit, eventually a green card. Timelines are all over the place. I'm getting colleagues that get them done actually pretty quickly, and others that take many, many years. So the short answer of it is it's like really inconsistent how long it'll take. Sometimes faster, sometimes slower. But talk with your lawyer handling a U visa. They'll give you the recent timelines. We are like the biggest U visa kind of case, so we don't have that many numbers to give good timelines on that. I have another question. Emma King asks, I got an I-130 approved January 31st, 2023, filed jointly with I-485 in Los Angeles. How long does it take to get green card? If your I-130 was approved and you filed jointly, you'll probably get what's called a request for evidence, an RFE, for your medical checkup pretty soon, and you'll mail that in, because this is how they're doing interview waivers right now. So they're probably going to waive your interview if they approved your I-130 and then you have an I-485 pending. So you get a notice, give your medical checkup, and mail it to them, and then you'll get approved probably within a few months or something like that, 1 to 3 months or something soon. So this is how they're doing the interview waivers for people adjusting status in the United States, where typically they would have interviews. They approve the I-130, you get a notice to send to the medical, you send it in, and then 2 to 6 weeks after that, you get an approval of the green card, they mail you the green card. So it's really cool that things are sped up and happen like that. It's very satisfying not to have to go to the interview and waste time on that. So that's probably how it's looking for a king right now, Emma. For your case right now, Emma. Thanks for answering your question. So we're nearing the end of the show. If anyone has 1 or 2 last questions, let me know. If not, if you needed to schedule a private consultation in my office, just email me at info@jqqlaw.com. Myself or one of my associates, my wonderful associates, can talk with you in the area their expertise is on, their focus is on, to guide you on what you need to do with your case and take it from there. I'm immigration lawyer John Kasravi here in Los Angeles. We have offices in Orange County and in Washington, D.C., and we really help everyone from across the country. All the stuff that I do is primarily digital and emailing stuff to the government. So our location doesn't really matter for almost all our cases. So thanks for watching. We'll be back again next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time to take your questions live. Until then, have a good one. God bless and be safe. Bye-bye.